Hey, welcome back to the Youth Revival podcast. My name's Nathan Benger, and I'm a youth pastor at a church called Icon Church in the UK. And we're taking this journey of how to build youth ministry from scratch. Over the last 2 weeks, we've taken a look, in the last 2 podcast episodes, we've taken a look at this subject of how to build youth ministry from scratch. And I want to encourage you, maybe you've not listened to those yet, go back. Listen to those and let's take this journey together of building youth ministry from scratch. But let me just give you a quick overview and today maybe this will help you in moving forward. But the first week we looked at a vision. And I want you to remind yourself of that picture, what you began to see. Maybe it was a picture that you've even downloaded, whatever it may be. Just begin to keep reminding yourself of that picture. That's key and that's vital for moving forward and building youth ministry. The second week, we looked at a plan and having a plan of what we're going to do, what are things going to look like, how are we going to begin to see what we see actually in the physical. And maybe last week you began to formulate a plan. Maybe that's a monthly plan of what your youth ministry is going to look like. Maybe it's even longer than that, 6-month plan, whatever it may be. Begin to plan that out. And this week I want to focus on people or a person or a group of people. And I want us to focus on youth leadership. We have a saying in our youth ministry that this is not a babysitting service. Okay, we're not here just to provide a babysitting service for parents, maybe parents from the church or parents even in the community. We're not here to create a babysitting service. This is leadership development. Our youth ministry is a leadership factory. If you were to take a look at Icon Church, you would begin to see all over the life of church, all over areas of our church, young people, like they're young adults now, but they were youth who have come through our youth ministry, been built up as leaders, and now have taken responsibility within the church. That's because we have a stance of this is a leadership factory. You see, we can have a vision, and we can have a plan, but we always have to remember this is all about people. It's all about reaching young people. And so we begin to move our youth ministry forward when we begin to think about people. We have to recognize that young people reach young people. We could do we could be in schools loads. We could be doing schools ministry, whatever it may look like, community ministry loads. And, that's all great. But here's the key factor. Young people reach young people. We have this kind of view of how we build our youth ministry. It's called relationship. And it goes like this, that initially they'll come in because of relationship with friends. They'll come in because of relationship with friends. Over the past 10 years, 90+% of our young people come to our youth ministry for the first time because a friend invited them. And so they'll come in because of a friend. They'll build friendships. We're really key on our nights. And I'm going to do an episode where I break down our Friday nights, our youth nights, and what they begin to look like. But they're really key that we build relationships with young people. Young people build relationships with each other. The second area, and I think I've mentioned this before in a previous episode, but it's good to remind ourselves, it's relationship with leaders. And so we're intentional as youth leaders, making sure we're building relationship with those young people. And then ultimately it's relationship with God. But I want to focus on that second one tonight because young people reach young people, but it's a key thing that we have leaders who build relationship with young people. Now, I know the question you're asking. Yeah, but Nathan, there's no one in my church who can be a youth leader. There's no one around. There's no one who wants to do it. You may have many different excuses, as I would call them, but you have a bunch of young people who you can raise to be great youth leaders. And that's what we began to do. We began to raise great youth leaders. If you have a vision to see 500 young people in your youth ministry, I know that's big, but come on, let's dream big. You have a vision to see 500 young people in your youth ministry, then here's what I believe you need to do. You need to raise 50 great youth leaders. 50. Why? Because I believe we need a great youth leader for every 10 young people. And so here's the key. I'm going to get these young people on fire for reaching their friends. I'm going to get them on fire for God, but I'm going to raise some great youth leaders. I'm going to invest personally. I'm going to do different things, and I'll explain some of the practical things that we've done over the years that have helped us raise great youth leaders. But I want to just take this 3-step today. 3 steps. And in the show notes, there'll be questions and there'll be application around these 3 steps. And these 3 steps for me are the 3 steps in raising great youth leaders, okay? The first one is recruit. Recruit, okay? Just begin to recruit young people, youth leaders, young adults, whoever's around, and begin to recruit. How do I do that? I begin to sow some seeds. I begin to get them alongside me. I begin to journey this life out with them. I'm intentional. You see, we're waiting for this mass influx of people who go, yes, I want to be part of youth ministry. But actually, maybe we have to go to those people and begin to recruit those. The way we can sow that is we can see leadership on people's lives, and we can begin to say, hey, I see leadership. Begin to do it with your young people. Begin to do it with your 13 and 14-year-olds. Whoever you have, begin to sow some seeds that at 16, 17, 18, they could become your youth leaders because you've begun that recruitment process, that sowing of seeds process, that process of actually raising some youth leaders. So I want you to go away and I want you to write a list of people who you're going to recruit to be part of your youth team. Hey, we've only got 10 young people though. Well, yeah, but your vision, you have to begin to lead at a different level. So, hey, I've only got 10 young people, but I've got 5 people on my list. I don't need them all yet. Yeah, but you're setting yourself up for the future. And so I want to encourage you, go and recruit. The second area that I want you to begin to do is raise them up. Raise them up. Be intentional about teaching them. Be intentional about giving responsibility. Be intentional about actually releasing them to be great youth leaders. Some of the practical things that we have done over the years is we would run monthly youth leaders meetings, and they would all be about raising great leaders. As well as that, every single Friday we have what we call a teams meeting. It's not just specifically for our youth leaders, but our youth leaders are required to be there. And so here's what we do. We teach leadership in that, and we encourage people, all young people, to come, because guess what? I'm looking out. Who else can I recruit? Who else can I get involved? But this is part of raising them up. I begin to help them in maybe they've taken a responsibility in youth. I don't just let them go and do it. No, I teach them how to do that. I begin to do it. The other things around raising up are we have to begin to confront some of the cultural stuff that might not align with what we see. We have to be confident and assured that actually if God's calling us to this, I've got to build a culture that'll lead us to that. And that requires me to address maybe some issues. But a big area in raising up is character. Character. You see, you can have the most gifted young people, and it could look incredible. They could be the most gifted young people, and gifting will get you on a stage, but it's character that keeps you there. It's character that'll keep you there. And so what's really important is that we begin to develop character. Because here's what youth leadership is really all about. It's about being a role model for other young people. And so I'm going to raise them up to have a godly character. I'm going to raise them up to be great leaders, yes. But I'm going to raise them up to follow Jesus and to follow after him. I have to model that myself, and we'll talk about ourselves in the next episode because that's really important. But we've got to recruit, we raise up, and then we release. You see, one of my faults is I'm a control freak, and I like to have my hand on everything, and I like to be involved in everything, and that's good on some occasions, but actually it can stifle other people's giftedness, it can stifle their leadership. And so here's what I have to do. I have to realize that, yes, I've recruited, I've raised them up, and now I can release them so that I can also be released to a new level as well of leadership. And so it's really important that we give responsibility. We don't dump tasks on people. We don't dump things on people. We delegate responsibility, and we help leaders begin to lead responsibly. You see, the Bible tells us that actually Jesus calls us to care for his sheep. He mentions this to Peter, and he says, hey, will you take care of my sheep? And that's such a big part of what we do. I really believe that if we have systems, processes, and we'll talk about systems and processes in a future episode, but if we have leaders who are really intentional about caring for young people, and we've recruited them, we've raised them up to do that, and we begin to release them, I believe that our youth ministries can begin to grow. Why? Because we're creating space, and God always fills space. We're creating space for do it. And so I want you to go away and over these 3 areas, I want you to begin to think, who am I going to recruit? Who am I going to get involved? Who am I going to begin to sow some seeds with? Who am I going to raise up? Who am I going to get alongside me? Who am I going to journey this with? And who do I need to begin to release? Release into certain areas, release into certain aspects of our youth ministry so that I'm not trying to do everything, but somebody else is able to do it. I think this is key because I really believe that everything rises and falls on leadership. John Maxwell teaches us that everything rises and falls on leadership. And so this is why we have this saying, we're not a babysitting service, we're a leadership factory. Why? Because we want to reach a whole load of young people. We got this vision. We might have a plan, but then we need some people to begin to do it. And so I want to encourage you, begin to recruit, raise up, and release some young leaders. So the show notes will be available at the download link that you'll find in our in the links or wherever you find that, wherever you're watching this from. And then we're going to come back next week and we're going to look at ourselves as leaders and begin to think about how we grow as well. But I hope this has been helpful to you, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the Youth Revival podcast.